my talk tonight is really about a personal journey of my change from engineering and science to more of a spiritual tilt, and how combining the science with the spirit has led to some really great product innovations and helped with great care of people. So I'm going to walk you through that journey a little bit and appreciate your time and attention. But how did it begin? So I know that I look 25, but I've actually been around for a long time. So for 40 years, I have 40 years of experience in laser technology. I started with lasers in the field of ophthalmology back in the 1983, 84, where they had the YAG laser as one of the first medical lasers in use. So because of my job, I had to learn a lot about the technology. 25 years ago, I became aware of a technique called low-level laser therapy, or cold lasers. You may have heard of those. And they were used for treating pain, but it was really showed from the literature that it was not always effective, that the treatments took a long time, and the results were inconsistent. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it took a long time. And so I really thought, well, that's a problem, because if you want a successful medical product, you need something that's easy to use by the clinician, easy and simple for the patient to get the treatment, and doesn't take up their entire day, and doesn't take months to get a result. So that was kind of the thought process there. Along with that, I had a close family friend that had nerve damage from dental surgery. They nicked her trigeminal nerve and created severe headaches for her. And the treatment time of the day was to just give her oxycodone. And she became an addict, and it destroyed her career. She was a marketing person, and just ruined her life, essentially. I mean, it's a sad story. But I said there has to be a better solution, and what can I do? So I thought about creating a high-power laser therapy to shorten the treatment times, give predictable success, and this was the idea that I had that formulated. I'm bringing it. It's like, now I have to go about designing this. So, it had to get to the root of pain and suffering. So the technology had to be fairly advanced. I had to understand how it went into the body, and what were the issues to have it promote healing. I thought it could be used after surgery recovery, that would be a great idea. If you could come out of back surgery and have laser treatments and get rid of the pain faster. Injury recovery, so acute injuries, I thought it could be used for that. And the goal was always to say, how can people live life free again and help individuals regain mobility, improve their quality of life, and address the chronic pain and physical limitations they might have. And I've watched over the years, I've been doing this now for a long time and treated a lot of people. And what I've watched is a switch flip in people where they're in their, sitting on their couch and they're not moving. They have bad sciatica, bad back pain, and they get laser treatments and they start to feel better. They start to feel better from the laser treatments, and they start to walk around. Then they start to do a little light exercise. And then they feel better, and they say, if I'm doing light exercise, maybe I could address some nutrition things. And suddenly they're out exercising, they're going to the gym, they lose weight, and they feel a lot better. And so sometimes this little laser flips that switch to do what I call an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral. So this is the first laser. 2023 is when I made the first commercial laser and got it through the FDA. And it was funny, in researching this talk, I wanted to get the different models of lasers. And I had this one tucked away in a container in the basement. I have no idea how long it's been there, 20 years maybe. And I pulled it out of the container and said, well, I'll get a picture. I doubt it's even going to work. And I plugged it in, and it worked. So good engineering. So there you go. But it was a 7.5 watt laser, continuous wave. We used it for the cellular level studies, the fresh cadaveric studies. It was FDA cleared. Yay, science and engineering. So, but then I had these stops and starts that, I couldn't really form a business myself back then. I had kids I had to put through college, and it just wasn't in the cards. I had to make a consistent, good income. So I worked with some dealers and distributors. Seemed like a great idea. However, difficulties were encountered. People breached their contracts. It was just a lot to manage. There were supply chain challenges. Specialized optical components were not easy to obtain. The volumes of the laser, were low, and so they didn't have an interest of supplying 50 parts for something. So that was difficult. There were technical challenges. Finding suppliers could actually meet the technical challenges was difficult at the time. We're talking the year 2000, 2003 or so. Continuous improvement, we monitored that. So with my background in technology and electronics and microelectronics, I was able to watch and keep current what's coming down the pipe. What can I integrate into the laser to help make it advanced? And we did get sales. We sold to veterinarians before I ever did humans. Well, except for myself, before I ever lasered humans, I lasered horses and dogs, and they got better. So we had a good basis, a good scientific basis for what we do. And this is just the evolution here. You see each model decrease in size and weight. The technology and microtechnology enabled the physical size to decrease. We went from 7.5 watts to 12 watts to 20 watts. And nowadays, the picture you see on your right, the white background, is the one we have today. Really intuitive user interface, built-in protocols that we've learned over 20 years of the laser. And very simple, easy to use, very portable, weighs about 6 pounds. You can use it portably and carry it around. So that's really what I would love to do 20 years ago, but it wasn't technically feasible then, so I did what I could do to get things rolling. I launched Epoch Lasers, the company, in the fall of 2019, and August. To start off, suggestion of a friend, I flew to Ecuador to demonstrate the laser that I had. It was at a spiritual healing center. And it was my first journey to and encounter with this type of place. I had never attended a spiritual journey center. I wasn't even sure what it was, but I couldn't go anywhere. Really, COVID was coming up, and I said, I have this lead. I'm going to go down to Ecuador, and beautiful. I met a group of people. We climbed up a mountain. We had a ceremony with the Canary Indians. And a woman said to me there, she says, Mr. Science Guy, when you're done with tonight, you're not going to think about science. And she was right. After all the things they did around that circle, that fire circle, wow, it's quite the change. But this was the beginning. This was where it started, where my eyes were opened and I said, there's more here than meets the eye. We're light bodies. The laser is light. We're putting light into light bodies. And suddenly I'm surrounded with people that are talking about light going into the body in a totally different way than I had thought about. So October of 2029, I was invited through some people I met in Ecuador and told I should go on a UFO cruise. And I said, you want me to go on a what? A UFO cruise? Are you out of your mind? This is going to be crazy. And I thought, that's the most nutty thing I've heard. But they said it was also about alternative healing modalities, and the laser with healing light would be a perfect fit. And so I said, okay, I'll go. I'll jump on the boat and go to Puerto Vallarta, and I'll go on this cruise. And learned a lot about dolphins and sound healing there. It was really, really fascinating. And again, my circle of people that started to understand the laser and talk to me about it from a different perspective grew. And there I met people that were deeply involved in meditation and the sound healing. And I thought of all the things I could do in the future if I could combine things together like that, different frequencies together. So to kind of look at the pictures, there's a guy, you may know him from years ago if you've been at this meeting a long time. His name is Ohneck. And then in the center, you have a Japanese group doing sound healing with lyres, with a group of people holding hands, and then somebody getting their jaw treated with a lyre, with the vibration of the sound. And I don't know if she's here this year, but there's a lady here that does this type of work, does the sound healing, and who's exhibited here in the past. It's really cool stuff. But yes, that was my UFO cruise, and I did see a UFO, just to clarify. So I did. It was interesting because they have you shine a green laser beam up into the sky, and then to wait and see if you see things. And then we saw lights zipping across the sky in speeds that were not physically, from an engineering point, possible. And then all the noise of the people talking in the boat when the UFO was present that we saw on the tape, on the phone, there was no audio, completely disappeared. And so I thought that's weird. That's all I could say. So then November 2019, by now, COVID was starting to really, be known. And so this was kind of my last trip I could really squeak in out of the country before things started to close down. And this was a new circle of acquaintances and friends I met on the cruise. Told me I should come to Japan and learn more about other techniques for healing, including meditation. Who could say no to this? So I hopped on a plane and went to Japan, visited some temples, walked down a pathway with these beautiful bamboo trees, just listened to the whisper of spirit just in my ears, and it was very peaceful. Very, very, peaceful trip, and a very good learning trip in terms of how they approach life and how they approach pain management and how they approach, stress. In January 2020, COVID had really dug its heels in. Couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do a demo for my laser here in the United States. Couldn't really fly. No clinics are open. That was a drag. So I couldn't fly domestically, but Ecuador said, hey, we're still open, come back on down. So I went down, and 3 things occurred in this next trip. We had this idea of Clinica Linda. We were just sitting around having breakfast at this retreat, and I made just a crazy comment. I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could treat the local indigenous with a laser? You'd have these people that are sort of living in a backwards way with the most advanced technology. They don't have access to CVS or Walgreens. They don't have doctor's cares. They're laborers in the field. They're always sore. And everybody just stopped and said, wow, that's a cool idea. I didn't expect that would be the outcome. And suddenly we had benefactors lining up, to make this happen. So the Clinica Linda was born and conceived. I began to learn about light activation of the chakras. And I met this woman, Maria Sigurdsson, who I'll talk to you about in a little bit. So I went back in a little over a year. The clinic was built out and ready to go and operational. So very, very fast. And it was very well received. We started doing maybe 10 patients a day, treating 10 patients a day. And you'll see where that grew in a second. But there you see the inside of the clinic, very, very basic, but actually, well built. I'm there in the middle. We all had masks on, speaking in English to a group of Canary Indians that had no idea what I was saying, but they clapped anyway. And then on the right-hand side, you see the little celebration after. And word got around fast, and they would walk 1, 2, 3 miles to come to the clinic. They didn't have transportation. They would walk to come get their laser treatments. And we're very happy with the result. They had really quick results, and so my 2 daughters are PhD microbiologists, and I asked the one daughter, I said, why do you think the Kanyari respond so well to the laser treatment? Is it something in their DNA? And she goes, no, they don't know who Johns Hopkins is. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she goes, they don't have a bias that we have in the Western medicine, like there wasn't a blinded trial. There wasn't this, amount of scientific information in a stack that they could read. They just believed the light healed them. And so she said it's not really a placebo effect, but they had no blockage to taking the treatment and getting the full benefit of it. And I thought it was interesting coming from my daughter's a hardcore scientist that she would say that, but she recognized it. So it was interesting. I made 3 more trips to Ecuador in the next year. The clinic hit 50 patients in one day, and it overwhelmed it. We did not have the people there, the staff, to handle that kind of intake in a day. So you can imagine a typical treatment takes 10 minutes, and you have 50 people lined up, and nobody really got a break. And so we started opening more clinics to handle this volume of people. At the same time, I was able to visit the site of the Blessed Virgin Mary appearance to Patricia Talbert. That's a very famous site in Ecuador. Really, really moving when you go there and visit. But I look at this and I say, explain these pictures. The one on your left is me treating a paraplegic. He had fallen off a roof. He'd been paralyzed for 7 years. And I'm not going to say he got up and ran a marathon. What I can tell you is that after 30 minutes of working with him, his toes were twitching, his fingers were twitching. And he was done with the treatment, and the doctor took him out of the van, the handicap van, and the doctor came in crying. And I said, "What happened? Is he okay?" And they said he actually lifted himself up and stood and made one step onto the ramp of the van. So that doesn't sound like a big deal to your eye. You say, well, okay, a whole big 30-minute treatment and that's all it did. To him, that's a life changer if you can make a step. And so that's one miracle. You see the lady in the center, a local Canary, just was all smiles and happy. We treated her arm and her shoulder, and she felt much, much better after that and came back for subsequent visits and kind of became friendly with our team. And then the site of the Virgin Mary appearance as well. So very moving time in my life, and a very strong indicator. Is that spirit at work or what? I mean, you just look at all those things and say, that's cool. So this is why I really started to think harder about, should I just focus on the science and engineering? So Maria Sigurdsson was the doctor at the clinic. She was there 4 years. And last summer, she moved back finally to Minnesota. I had a chance to have a nice lunch with her. And she shared with me, she treated over 1,000 patients at that clinic. And not only did she treat them, but she documented every treatment. And I said, well, what do you mean by documented? She goes, oh, I have paperwork on every treatment I did on every patient. And I said, well, where are the files? And she brought out a very large cardboard box full of files. And that's one clinic, 1,000 patients. And so you start to multiply how many people you can help. And then you start to really understand the importance of this type of work that we all do here, that we all believe in, the alternative healing. You realize how many people you can help. So 1,000 patients all recorded, and the data we were able to gather from that in terms of the protocols was really extraordinarily helpful, and it helped actually modify the settings of the machines and the protocols going forward, because we had such a large, well-recorded database. So the quest continued. Getting to the root of pain and suffering, can combining the healing light of the laser with meditation, not medication practice, but with meditation practice provide a solution for neuropathic pain. Neuropathic pain is pain that people have that has no really clear diagnostic cause. People come in, they say, my shoulder hurts, but the MRI shows nothing. The X-ray shows nothing, but their shoulder hurts. Or their neck hurts, but there's no physical thing that we diagnose, and so it's something going on there that we don't really know what. So I tried to really think, can I combine what I've learned with the laser to help treat this neuropathic pain, to help people actually get better using the light and using other practices like meditation. So I learned from Maria about chakra activation by the laser, and then a subsequent place that you'll see. Can combining these diverse modalities accelerate the healing and the recovery time? Goal stayed the same, living a life pain-free again, helping individuals regain the mobility and quality of life. Same goals, so they really haven't changed. But there was more investigation to do, but not necessarily of the science. So I went back to Japan. I had a lot of miles, airline miles. The first thing I encountered, I went to Mount Karama. Has anyone ever heard it, in Kyoto? This is really strong connections to Reiki healing. In fact, the place that I'm standing on, they say, is where the monk first downloaded the Reiki instruction. When you stand on that stone, it's like you're standing in an electric field. It's very, very, very strong. So it's very cool. It didn't go unnoticed that if you look to the train, the little tram on the left that takes you up the mountain, it says, continued forward toward the light, is the first thing that I saw. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a sign. And then I stood and walked around these grounds, and it was again, a beautiful, kind of life-changing experience. And then I visited some clinics there. And you'll probably get a kick out of this left-hand picture. There's this little, bioenergy machine, and they had stones sitting on top of it. And I said, why do you have stones on top of the machine? And they said, well, why wouldn't you put stones on top of the machine? Do you know what crystals can do and stones can do? And then I got a whole lesson in this and how they can affect equipment. And so they placed these 3 stones on top of this machine because they felt it had a positive effect on its use. I'm not going to question that. I don't know how I would scientifically prove or disprove it. And I think this is the one big change I had is I started saying, I have to prove that, saying, well, why can't it be? We just say, oh, we have to prove everything. Well, prove that it's not, and so I kind of changed my mindset. And you see in the center picture, they're using some pretty advanced imaging technology to look at their patients. So they're using these simple machines and crystals and high-tech imaging equipment and getting pictures of the heart. And then the lady to the right, I had a green Helios I've been working on with a 530 nanometer light, and I took it over there to see what their impression was and what they thought of it. So then another visit to Ecuador. It's, again, the only place it seemed that I was going a lot to. So here you see the yellow line, and it say I'm between two worlds here. I'm on the equator. One foot's on one side of the equator, the other foot's on the other side of the equator. And then I asked the question, is it the hemispheres or am I on the line of science and spirit? Is that one side of my brain and the other side of the brain? So I could look at it allegorically. And so we opened a new clinic in Kyoto to help people on the other side of the country. From the people I met in Japan and getting involved in meditation, they invited me to come to Thailand and to do a deep dive with a gentleman. His name's Bob Fix. I don't know if you've heard of him. He trained with the Maharishis in his 80s, but he does these really deep dive called ELM meditations. And he wrote a book about clearing cellular memory that explains in beautiful, simple terms how our cells don't just contain biochemistry information, but they contain emotional memories. And that's one of those moments where I said, okay, prove it. And then his response was, prove that it doesn't. And he said, there's a lot more complexity than what we think of that. So the course was really good. It was my first experience with it. And, you see their Buddhist setup in the middle, the Buddhist altar. And his theory was using self-guided meditations with yantras and mantras. And so this is the technique. And I was striving to really learn if there were certain meditations that could be done that would work with the laser in helps of people with chronic pain and neuropathic pain. From there, I went to Puerto Rico. I became aware of Dr. Falcon, and he was doing energy work as well, and doing work with chakras and meridian interactions. And so this is his clinic there, and he has a laser, and he was experimenting with it, unbeknownst to me, but he had obtained the laser, and he decided to go on this himself, and he heard about it, and so he and his wife Olivia undertook this to try to develop it more. And he did a great job as well. And his wife Olivia, in my book, she did all the beautiful illustrations. I found out that you have to, if you're drawing pictures of the meridians, you have to draw your own pictures. You just can't go offload them on the internet. So you have to have custom pictures. So she did a great job and was a help there. So they put the laser to the test, and they're expanding their clinic. They've really added a lot to it, turned it into a nice clinic that's getting a lot of people in, and they're actively doing it on all their patients. They're doing this chakra and meridian activation with the laser. So from there, I then went to China. I really wanted to understand how Eastern medicine could be integrated with Western medicine. So to kind of put that in perspective, in Western medicine, we treat the symptom. There's a problem and we treat it. Okay, you have a hurt elbow, you're going to almost get the same treatment no matter who you are. You're going to get the same treatment. Eastern medicine treats the person first. They look at the whole person and they say, okay, you're the whole person and you have this problem. So person A, B, and C may get 3 different treatments. They may get completely different treatments to solve that problem. So it's a different approach. But I wanted to understand the high technology and Eastern medicine, and was there a way to combine? How can China, that has these high technology buildings and things, why are they still practicing what I thought was maybe backwards medicine, but anything but for sure. But in the midst of these skyscrapers and high-tech machines, you still sit down and you have a calm tea and have talks and discussions. Got back from there, and then July 2025 last year, another stop off in Chiang Mai with a little bit of a tour in Bangkok. I went to the first temple in Bangkok to look at, and I walked in, and the very first sign I saw is, "What is meditation?" Again, spirit at work, saying, "Look, you didn't end up here by accident." And so great tours and learning about the crossovers of religions, how many of the customs they do are similar between these what look like dramatically different faiths. And so learned a lot about their meditation practices and do they differ and how do they perceive things. So and then in Chiang Mai, this more extended course, you see a group of, well, again, the wonderful people preparing for the puja, and then the teaching of the meditation, and they do a deep dive into the science of the meditation, not just the meditation, but how it works, what it means, what the words mean, so that you really come out almost like a professor when you're done. So light body is an ethereal concept. It represents a state of being where one's physical and spiritual energies are in perfect harmony, radiating the inner light and elevated consciousness. So just quick review here, because I'm probably going to be running out of time soon. Okay. The chakra system consists of 7 main energy centers in the body, and I say 7 main, each corresponding to different physical, emotional, and spiritual effects of the human experience. And they're vital for maintaining the balance and harmony within the body, mind, and spirit. By keeping these energy centers aligned, of course, individuals can achieve holistic well-being. And so while we understand that there are many more energy centers within and around the human vessel, concentrating on these primary chakras can have profound effects. So we focus on these 7 chakras with the laser. Practitioners can achieve significant results promoting overall health and harmony within the body and the mind. So much of our health is regulated by the mind. Our mind can be used to heal our bodies, as you probably all know. And combining it with the light helps accelerate that. So this approach allows for more impactful and transformative healing experience. At the end of the day, people have to want to get better. It's one thing I've learned over the past couple of years. If somebody just wants to use being sick as a crutch and they don't really have the desire to get better, they're not going to get better no matter what you throw at them, no matter what drugs, no matter what you do. So you have to try to change their perspective sometimes. So by targeting chakra systems, you can revolutionize holistic healing. We use the light to target, align, and heal the chakra system. It's innovative energy work promotes physical relief as well as emotional and spiritual well-being. We focus on the 7 main energy centers, and they each correspond to different physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects. And the emotional and spiritual benefits, clarity, well-being, freedom are restored when pain and blockages are alleviated. So the influx of energy not only aids in the physical healing, but also illuminates the body from within, fostering a profound sense of well-being and inner warmth. So targeting the laser light on meridian lines and acupressure points. Talk about that for a second. Incorporating traditional Chinese medicine, combining ancient wisdom with modern laser therapy. Patient consultation, engaging with patients to understand their specific needs and conditions. One thing I learned as a laser therapist is our healthcare system today, if you go to a traditional doctor's appointment, you see somebody first that stands you on the scale and takes your height and weight. Then you have another one that comes in and sits in front of the computer and asks you 50 questions and types it into the computer. If you're lucky, the doctor comes in, he's got all this information in front of you and said, well, I think you just need this prescription, or he spends 5 minutes with you and he doesn't really delve into healing you, the person. Now, some places do, so I don't want to sound like I'm critical of all medicine, because that's not the case. But I just want to say that's the difference. When you're doing laser therapy on a person, you're actually having a connection with them. You can do the treatment with an intent. You can have a conversation with them. And I find when I'm doing laser therapy, people do some emotional clearing. they talk about it, and then you realize that maybe their pain that you're treating is because they're fighting with their husband or their wife, or they have this emotional blockage, or they have family issues. And those sometimes come out. And all of a sudden the patient gets better because you're helping with that clearing. As a therapist, you have to clear the clearing. You have to do something at the end of the day. Otherwise, you start to get all their aches and pains. So the meridian lines knowledge, utilizing the known meridian lines to guide the treatment. You can move the laser probe along the meridian that you want to treat. Using practitioner intuition to change the effectiveness of the laser therapy. Targeting root causes, more effective in addressing the root of chronic pain and suffering. And it gives amplified therapeutic effects through precise methods. So you can also use acupressure points. Epoch Lasers Puerto Rico, as Soraya Soul Sun, has achieved amazing benefits by focusing on these acupoints. I think it's pretty well known that you can do laser acupuncture. You can do, self-stimulation. These points can be stimulated by your hand, your thumb, or a stone, the laser. There's visual focus, concentrate on images while you're doing this. You can get certified to do this. You can go visit Soraya Sun Soul and they can teach you all about how to do this technique. Thai yoga. So while in Thailand, I didn't just learn about meditation, I learned about Thai Rishi yoga. And I thought, I'm not kind of a yoga guy, but I'll try it. And it was pretty cool. It's like, I had no idea I could touch my toes. So it really was pretty awesome to learn this. So there's these different techniques. The Rusi Dantan is an ancient form of Thai body work and part of traditional Thai medicine. The work consists of the breathing exercises, self-massage, self-stretches, visualizations, and chants. Meditation in a variety of poses performed sitting, standing, or lying positions. And it can actually help with the free flow of energy through you, and that can actually enhance the treatment with a laser. If you take out those blockages and you start treating with a laser, you've really opened things up and you can speed up the results. So stimulating, improving, and regulating blood circulation, supporting the lymphatic system, detoxification, improving flexibility, balance, muscle tone. This type of traditional Thai yoga is really known for this. And you combine it with the laser and used adjunctively, these two modalities become a very powerful healing tool. So one of the points you'll probably see is that I'm not afraid to say the laser doesn't do it all. I can honestly say the laser used adjunctively with these types of techniques does amazing things. The laser by itself does amazing things, but when you can combine it with these types of other practices, you can really help people. And so that's sort of what I've learned through the series of trips and travels that you saw there. So there's still the science, but much more. So how do I integrate and productize what I've learned? How do I put all this into some kind of product? So of course, I have to talk about the science. Like, I didn't give that up, just so you know. So the science of the laser is quite simple. The laser light gets absorbed by the chromophore. It produces, tickles the mitochondria, produces adenosine triphosphate. It's pretty well the known reaction. The mitochondria, they're the powerhouse of living cells. Think of them like a little electrochemical batteries that convert energy from the food you eat and the oxygen from the air you breathe into this ATP compound. It's like a molecular motor. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, drives your biochemical activity in the healing process. All life on Earth depends on this tiny energetic molecule. Photonic energy is converted to ATP, and ATP helps drive the healing process. So light energy at 980 nanometers gets deep into the tissues. This isn't red light, it's infrared light. Penetrates through the skin, goes deep into the tissues, energizes the mitochondria, increases production of ATP. That leads to a biological cascade of events. So that's the basic science of the laser. So from all my travels, I gained other information about other frequencies, terahertz, far infrared, and I began to start to understand how those work. And we now have introduced this Epoch immersion, and that combines far infrared technology, terahertz resonance, gyromagnetic fields, negative oxygen ions, vibrational therapy, and adaptive frequency intelligence, all into that one picture of the bed that you see there. And this is a wellness bed that can help you, get better fast, help with recovery, athletic recovery as an example. So these are the different technologies that go into the bed. It has something called adaptive frequency intelligence. I think most of you probably know your different body parts resonate at different frequencies, right? They have different frequencies. So an eyeball has a frequency of 20 to 90 hertz, the chest 10 to 50 hertz, the arm 5 to 10 hertz. When you climb in the bed, it has these AI sensors in it, and it reads these frequencies in these areas. There's throughout the cabin. And it reads these frequencies and it says, oh, this one's not right. And it will start to make an effort using one of the onboard technologies or a combination thereof to adjust that frequency back to normal over the time that you're in the cabin. So it's adaptive. And that's why people, like last year, we had 4 units in clinical trials. Every patient, every treatment had to fill out a sheet of what they felt. And we measured blood pressure and all these other things. And the patients would say, yeah, I went in there, my hip wasn't feeling good. And when I got in the cabin and laid down, the first thing I felt was some tingling in my hip. How did the machine know to do that? And it's like, yeah, that's cool. So it's adaptive and it knows by looking at these frequencies. We also offer some home therapy products, just to put in a quick plug, to support treatments after the clinic, personal pain management and healthcare products. You can be part of the solution, no side effects. That's the Helios. You can come see these in the booth. The light therapy mask, the knee brace. Lots of people get knee injuries, so the knee braces help. This one is rechargeable, so they can walk around with them on there. It's great for athletes. So what's the future here of healing advancements? We're aiming to bridge the gap between advanced scientific technology and holistic healing. Treatments with Epoch lasers and immersions enhance this by providing targeted energy directly to the cells. You'll notice the backdrop in our booth that says, healing at the cellular level. Is to activate mitochondria, boost their function, and promote overall vitality. We look for open-minded practitioners. There's a lot of doctors that just don't even want to think about the laser. They don't want to have a talk about it. Never mind trying to talk about combining the laser with meditation, but that's changing. Some of the big university hospitals are starting to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute, this might have a place here. It's going to take time, but I think they're starting to see that if they don't do it, there's be all these other wellness centers that will. And so the holistic approach integrates physical and spiritual aspects for overall well-being and expertise in technology. Use the laser technology and energy-based technologies in combination to promote the balance and harmony, heal the whole patient, not just address the symptom. So I need to give credit to my 2 colleagues, because without them, I couldn't have done these trips. I couldn't have done what I could do and got their feedback. Kelly's our Director of Sales and Training. She's a certified laser therapist. She's our training manager. She has extensive knowledge of therapeutic lasers in medical and veterinary industries. She was a consultant to the veterinary industry in 2000. She went to an Olympics back then and actually lasered horses during the Olympics. She is a certified nutritionist and focuses on advancement in equipment and nutrition. Donna is also our CFO. She's a holistic health and nutrition coach. She's a certified laser therapist, yoga instructor, and a Reiki practitioner. She's passionate about using the education, insight, understanding, compassion, and tools to help people suffer less. So these 2 people are really integral part of the team, and we talk daily. So spirit at work. Just look at the examples of the people I've met, where I've been, the people we've treated and helped, just the amazing travels, and my switch from saying I'm a scientist and engineer to I'm becoming more of a holistic healer. I'm more open to Eastern medicine and combining things together to help treat the whole person. It's been a journey and a fantastic one. So. I have a book signing tonight. You're welcome to come to that if you want to read more about it. You can grab a book, and that talks more in detail about how to use the laser to treat the meridians. And it's also available on Amazon as well. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope you took away some information. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. How does this differ from, you were saying that it's different from red light therapy? Because you said, what's the difference between the infrared and red?
Good, very good question, and I'm glad you asked it because there's a lot of confusion about it. So red light is a visible light. You see the red light. It's between roughly 610 and 650 nanometers. So it's a visible light. It's red light. This 980 nanometers is near infrared, not red. And so it's invisible light. The difference is they both can activate the mitochondria to produce ATP, but they travel into the body quite differently. The red light you'll see used a lot in cosmetic products. It's absorbed in the surface of the skin. The infrared light's not absorbed in the melanin at all. The 980 isn't, and it passes right through. So it takes less optical power to get deep into the body, meaning the treatment will be more comfortable for the patient and more effective. If you want to try to force red light down below these tissue layers, you're going to get much more heating of the tissue. It won't be as comfortable. So red light therapy is great. You can have red light therapy beds. We have it in our cosmetic mask. We use red light. It has a place, but if you want to try to treat a really chronic pain issue, rotator cuff, then you need a whole different setup and a lot of optical power to try to do that with red light, where the 980 is not, because it's not absorbed in melanin, passes through easy. So they really are two different things. People say they're the same. Well, near infrared and red light are the same thing because they both activate the mitochondria, but they travel through the body really differently, and that makes a difference in the outcome of the procedure you might be trying to treat it with. Does that help?
So the infrared goes deeper?
Yes. Yep, the infrared goes deeper into the body. So you can force any wavelength. If you put enough optical energy, you can try to force more power down there. But when you're at the 980, you can do that with a lot less power and a much smaller device and still get enough. We did studies with a cadaver, fresh cadaver, to know exactly how far down did the laser energy go at 980. And we tracked at 4 inches. So that's pretty deep. And that was only at 5 watts. So, we know that it really travels through. And the reason is because it's not absorbed in the melanin. That's the primary reason. So it's about power density and the difference in how it travels through each tissue layer. So, and you can't see it. So red isn't infrared because they are different. You can't see one and one you can see. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I think we're out of time. I think the timekeeper,
1 minute.
we have 1 minute. Okay. Thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. Yes?
Talk to the acupuncturist here.
I have not yet, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Laser treatments from chiropractors, or where are they offered in society?
Oh, they're at wellness centers, they're chiropractors, they're physical therapy centers. They go to kind of all walks of life. There's people like yourselves that have their own private practice that use healing with the laser. They go out in the field and they treat people. They have their own practice without a shingle. So if you're interested in becoming a laser practitioner, come to our booth 105 and we'll show you how you can do it. All right, thank you.